Well, very good evening, everyone. I'm Shilpa and I welcome you all to the Shiksha webinar. Well, many of us want to become IAS, IPS officer, but for that, we need back-breaking effort to clear UPSC exam, which is said to be a very tough exam. So trust me, last-minute guidance from the right mentor can bring you closer to your target. With this, let's welcome our esteemed expert for today's session on how to prepare for UPSC main exam. We have Dilpreet Singh. You are an IPS officer, cleared UPSC back in 2020. He is a super mentor at Civils Daily. I heartily welcome you, Dilpreet sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And to the students, feel free to send your questions to me through Q&A box or in the chat box. I shall try to get all your queries answered by the expert for this session after a quick discussion with him. Coming back to you, sir.
Yeah.
So we are almost, I would say, 2 weeks far from UPSC main exam. But even after going through several books, solving mocks, we feel we are partially prepared for the exam. So Dilpreet sir, you are also super mentor. So do you also get the similar queries from the test takers and how do you guide them at this moment?
It's very natural to get nervous at this moment. But the only thing is be confident in your own skin, be confident in your own content. Don't look for content at this moment. Revise what you have done and just recall all the feedback that you've got.
In brief words, you have said a lot of things. So UPSC main exam is approaching, as I said. So how actually you had strategized when you had cleared it?
So if like the mains is approaching in 10-15 days, what I want all the people who are going to appear is, number one, consolidate all your material. Stop reading new stuff. Okay. Number two, they should now start focusing, at least give one mock in a simulated environment so that they should ensure, because most of the times in our mains test series, we are not able to complete on time. Now is the time that they should see to it that they're completing the exam on time. And especially for GS4, which is of ethics, it is one of the lengthiest papers. So it is divided into two parts. One is the main syllabus and one is the case studies portion. So it's always advisable to attempt the case studies portion first, because therein you have to invent new points. Therein you have to read a very long case study, while the syllabus portion can be attempted at the last, because that is something which has points already in your mind from the core syllabus. So attempt the case studies first, and the syllabus at the end. And GS 1, 2, 3, 4, they happen in a span of 2 days only, right? Morning, evening shift. So it takes a toll on your body. Writing for 6 hours straight, and it's very mentally consuming those 2 days. So make sure your sleep cycle is adjusted accordingly. Like the exams, they start in the morning shift. So if you are a night owl, if you're accustomed to studying late, now is the time to wake up early and make sure in those particular hours your concentration is to the maximum, so that you don't feel odd in those 2 days, right? So these are some habitual changes or some very mechanical or quantitative changes that you should bring in. Some qualitative changes which I'd like to suggest while writing answers. Number one is, sometimes we don't focus upon the presentation of the answer, right? So that is very important. For example, if you have to draw a diagram in the fixed space, so don't just plainly draw the diagram in the middle of the page. Draw it on the very right corner and put it in a box. And the space which is left, right in that space, just as in the same format as it's written in the books. The diagram is to the corner and the lines are indented and text is still there, because it looks very neat. Even though your writing might not be very good, but it should be legible enough. It should be neat. These are little things that we should incorporate so that our main score can increase.
Okay, sir, I have several follow-up questions even students have shared in the Q&A box. So I'll ask you a direct question, how to write general studies and ethics answer. Though you have said it too superficially, sir, if you could just explain in depth.
Every question has its own demand, right? Basically, what happens before answer writing? Number one, the first stage is your content. Number one, your content should be prepared in a very thorough way. In a way that, suppose you have joined some coaching or you have done your self-prepared thing. So one is that source. Second is some toppers notes. Third is some good material which is available in the market. And fourth is some good website, like we have Civils Daily, तो उसमें से you can get in content, churn out all the content and make your own structure out of it. Number one is this stage, that your content is prepared in a very good way. When your content is prepared in a very good way, you will get the confidence to write answers. The second stage is when you start writing answers. So while writing answers, number one is what we say is caps. So number one is context. When your content is ready of each and every topic, your intros and conclusions are ready made. So what you got to focus is on the body of the question. Always write what is being asked in the question. Be confident in your own content and write what is being asked. Be contextual. The context which is being asked directly hit to the demand of question. For caps, A is apply value. Now, value addition in different subjects is through different topics. It's a whole lecture in itself, how to add value to your mains answer. For example, you can quote some data, you can quote some report, you can quote some recent incident which has happened relating to that question. You can quote some anecdote. ठीक है? तो ऐसे करके, like we can give some diagram, some flow chart. We can draw a map in geography, map in IR, map in security. So through this, you can add value to your answer. This will increase at least half of 1 marks in each and every means answer of yours. Then is presentation. The presentation thing that I talked about, like indentation. Even if your writing is not good, it should be legible enough. There should be adequate spacing between words, adequate spacing between lines, so that it is legible enough for the one who is checking the answers. Then S stands for caps structuring. See, in every answer there's a keyword which is being asked. You've got to follow that keyword, and there is a proper structure. For example, if in many questions in UPSC they asked, "What is your opinion?" and "What do you think?" So in those questions, being a bureaucrat, there is no black and white. There is always gray area, right? You don't have to give one single opinion. You have to write both for that motion and both against that motion. And maybe your opinion might be that I am more for than against. That might reflect, but you have to write both the viewpoints. It's not that you'll write only one single viewpoint, that this is my opinion, and the other side I am leaving completely opaque. You have to mention all. So in this way, you got a content and then caps is what is required.
I'm sure, sir, certainly your answering will help many students to follow this. You just talked about the adequate spacing, about the content, and follow the keywords. And if asked about the opinion-based question, we have to write both for and against. Right, sir? Okay.
Yes.
So Lalit has this next question. Several thing is happening every day, sir. So how we can cover GK in less time, because we have only 2 weeks.
See, what happens is you don't have to go for note making of newspaper daily. Okay. So what you gotta do is make a diary. So while reading newspapers, write good examples, write good data, write good lines, because some columnists are so eminent that their direct lines from the newspaper can be used as quotations in your answers. Like Rishabh Pant and many eminent there, authors are there. So they can be quoted directly. So in this way, you can club all this data and don't make notes out of your newspaper thing, right? And what happens is towards the end of the month, there are monthly magazines which are being published, and all the newspaper coverage is being done there. Analysis along with pre-facts. So that is what you can refer to. In the meanwhile, while you read daily, just mention important data, examples, anecdotes, quotations in some diary of yours. No need to write the whole topic. For example, if I have to give an example, there was this Gorakhpur tragedy in which many people died due to lack of oxygen. So I closely followed that topic in newspaper. There were articles coming on it for I think 7 to 8 days. So I read around 9 to 10 articles. I think I would have spent around 2.5 to 3 hours while reading those articles combined in all those days. And then I prepared my own notes. Then I still vividly remember there was this Tamil Nadu model of medical governance that I thought I'll write in conclusion. It will be my conclusion. So I think I spent 4 to 5 hours on that particular one topic only. What happened was towards the end of the month, a monthly magazine came. Not only they had a thorough analysis of all the things that are already clubbed in 5-6 hours, but also conclusions which were better than my conclusion. Apart from Tamil Nadu model of medical governance, they had mentioned other extra points as well. So why to go for repetition of effort? If somebody, an expert is already doing it for you, then leave it to them. We already are in paucity of time. So don't go for note making of newspaper, but mention in your diaries some key points, anecdotes and examples. This is what I mean.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for answering that. Okay, sir. So the next step, I want to ask you, what are the major preparation mistakes that the test takers make over and over again, while preparing for the civil services?
The major mistake is self-analysis. Self-analysis is always missing. That the purpose of tests is not only to hone your skill, but the purpose of tests is so that for a moment you can sit in the checker's shoes, in his shoes, that how is he evaluating you. So over the period of time, you should be mature enough to judge your own answers. This is the ultimate stage of self-analysis. So when you're in a position to do that, when you're in a position to say यार कि ये आंसर मैंने अच्छा लिखा है या फिर ये आंसर नहीं ठीक नहीं लिखा गया मेरे से, तो इसमें मेरे को कम आएंगे, एंड वो कम ही आएंगे. So in till the time you reach that stage, that is the stage you should always aim for. So self-analysis is the key. No matter whatever anyone gives a score to you, give a score to yourself based upon re-evaluating your answers. That is what matters the most. And improve. Write the same question only, but improve.
Okay, so the word you said, the self-analysis, even I agree that that plays a very important role. But when they give exam, we know an expert will be checking our answer sheet, and we will be marked according to that. We practice PYQs and mock tests. So that self-performing analysis, which you were talking about, that becomes a task. But but on the same side, we cheat when we do this PYQs or the mock test. So how can we actually analyze this mock's performance, and how we can create that proctored environment?
In UPSC, especially in mains, in pre, though it's an MCQ type question. The only self-analysis you can do is in questions wherein there is a 50% you have eliminated two, but you are not able to decide between two. So the self-analysis is if you are making a guess in one direction and it goes wrong, then why did you choose the wrong direction and not the right one? And so you got to discuss with your friends how did they reach towards that right option. So that is what's important in mains. How to do self-analysis is you revisit your answer, you revisit the comments that the examiner has made in the test series only, the comments they have made, and then you rethink that could you have done this at the moment, because there are only 7 minutes to write that answer. Okay. And once you feel that this could have been easily added into my content, write that same answer again. And while writing that, after writing that same answer, then evaluate it yourself. That these were the points that the mentor gave, and now I've rewritten that answer. Have I covered all these points? And does the next time when I write such an answer or any answer per se, do I keep in mind all these points? Is it in the back of my head, in my latent memory? So this is how you take the feedback by heart. When you re-practice and self-analyze and rewrite the answers, it gets ingrained automatically into you. And that structuring, somewhere the examiner might comment, the test series mentor might comment that, yeah, your presentation was not up to the mark. That you could have boxed that diagram. You could have underlined the main point and main stuff. So this is how you take your feedback to heart and then self-analyze, repeat and improve. But if you'll not write that answer again, if you'll not repeat, and if then you'll stay at the same place only. Then you'll take the feedback, but you will not be able to implement that. That is not desirable.
Okay, so sir, during the exam time, as you had said sometimes back, our biological cycle becomes unpredictable. So that all of the sudden, even I remember that when we create a timetable and religiously follow it, then we achieve the things we want, right? So will creating a day-wise study plan at this time will help?
See, there should be a day-wise study plan, but it should be in sync with the hours at which you're giving mains, like the morning and the evening shift. So make sure in those particular hours you're very active. during the day for these next 15 days. 15 days is enough to make a change in your sleep cycle, right? So make sure in those particular hours you are very active, and obviously micro schedule your day and make a plan accordingly. But don't stress yourself out. Matlab, during these 15 days, 8 to 10 hours is sufficient.
So, sir, here I would like to take next question. One of the test taker want to ask you. Amit Bagri has this question: which is the best medium to write UPSC main exam, Hindi or English? As on 24th September, we have language paper. So, how to attempt a language paper in IAS main?
See, the language paper, there are a lot of options. You can choose your regional language, which is from a list of languages, and the Hindi language can be chosen as well. The language paper basically it's your grip in your own particular language, and it's a class 10 level paper. So if you have done your language in class 10, there is you'll be easily clearing that paper. No separate efforts or coaching per se is required for the language paper. And talking about the medium you want to attempt, see, if you're comfortable with English, fine. It's fair enough to attempt the paper in English because all the coaching material, everything is available in English. But if there is something which hinders you from expressing yourself in English, then I think you can go for Hindi as well. There have been a lot of candidates who are clearing from the Hindi medium as well. So there is no difference per se. The only difference is the material which is available is more or less in English. So it becomes a task to either translate it into Hindi and then read. So the only difference is this. Rest UPSC doesn't discriminate. Neither does it favor any medium, nor does it discriminate against it.
So Dilpreet sir, even I have heard that attempting UPSC exam in Hindi fetches the favor marks. They give us the less marks. Is it myth or is a true?
No, nothing like that. UPSC is one of the most impartial bodies which are there. There is no biases there.
Thank you for clearing that doubt, sir. I was reading few articles published on you because of the double effort you had to put in because of the, you were doing the job simultaneously preparing for the civil services. So hats off for that, sir. So how did you manage it? What was your time management strategy?
See, I was a person who had started preparing for the exam very early, I think in the second year of my college. So engineering is like 4 years thing. So I started in my second year, and for 3 solid years, I prepared very slowly. So पंजाबी में हुआ ना सहज पके सो मीठा हो हिंदी में दो है फिर ऐसे आराम से की preparation. So that helped me a lot. What happened was the moment I got out of college, I cleared the state civil services and I joined as a tehsildar. Then in the next state civil services, I got allotted the post of SDM. And then in the next year, I came here as an IPS in UPSC. So meanwhile, I had my job in between. I was continuously shifting to different posts. But what happened was because my base was strong, earlier I studied for 10, 12, 14 hours even. I stretched myself in those 3 years. So what was required now was just 4 or 5 hours because I just had to hone my skills, not prepare anything, hone my skills only. So this is what happens. So if you have done your syllabus on the backhand religiously, so while preparing for job, you just have to churn out, I think, 3 or 4 hours. That is sufficient. So this is how you can manage.
Okay, so I have read few more things about you. While preparing for UPSC, you used to prepare small notes. And
Yeah.
sometimes back you talked about the topper's note. So how did you used to make that such kind of notes?
See, the note making that I talked about. One is if you have joined some coaching, their notes, right, or the notes that you have made, the material that you have read. One is some famous teacher that you find on that particular subject. Get their notes from ORN or some photostat shops from there. Third is some website, right? Some website. Just mention that topic and mention UPSC keyword on Google. Many websites will open. You can refer to that. Now, combining all these, they might have divided that topic into some subtopics. Like if it is for globalization, so they might have divided some definition, World Bank एक definition देता globalization की, some data on globalization, kitna world trade bada after 1991, some diagram, some quotation on globalization, that it is the most necessary, it's a necessary evil, and some dimensions of globalization, some effects, positives, negatives, then effects on family, youth, gender, culture, religion. Okay, and then deglobalization, that is also one topic, and then some conclusion. So through all these material, what you got to do is you make a structure of your own, like I have made this definition data, and you fill that structure using all these materials, and then you make your own notes out of it. So when your own notes are prepared from these 4 to 5 sources, so this is your ultimate value added material, and it will be different from everyone else. So these small differences will at least give you an edge of half marks from the other candidate, and half marks in 20 questions is 10 marks per paper. 4 papers 40 marks, so 40 marks में पूरी यूपीएससी की लिस्ट पड़ी हुई है. इतना difference it can make, this small exercise. So this note making should be done very seriously, and consolidating those micro notes I made was for optional, because optional gets very vast. So when I had read it from 3 to 4 to 5 sources, what I did was I took A3 sheets, which are basically double of A4 combined A3 sheet, and I divided it into small columns, very small columns, and then I used to micro write in those columns so that my one chapter is on one A3 sheet, front and back. So this is how I made, and my entire optional was in I think 20 pages. This is how I did things.
परफेक्ट सर. ओके सो सर, यहाँ पर तमन्ना का एक प्रश्न है. उनका प्रश्न इस तरह से है कि उन्हें अब इस समय पर इस क्रूशियल टाइम में अब आर बेसिस में पढ़ना चाहिए या फिर टॉपिक बेसिस.
Tamanna is appearing for means.
सॉरी सर.
The girl she's appearing for means.
Yes, she is asking that.
I think at this point of time, what you should do is not focus so much upon strategy, but just churn what you got. Right. So our basis is not that important. It's all about if you think that particular topic has been in current affairs as well, and it has a high probability of asking, just focus more upon that topic while revising. So just be in revision mode. Revise what you have done. These 15 days are for revision mode.
ओके, आई होप तमन्ना आपके प्रश्न का उत्तर मिल गया है. सर ने जो हमें बताया कि अभी स्ट्रैटेजी पर ज्यादा फोकस ना करें, आप रिवीजन करते रहें. राइट सर?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so with this, I'll take up one more question. It has been asked by one of the test taker, and he's asking, is it with the every human after doing the same thing in repetitive manner, we get exhausted and demotivated at the same time? So, sir, आपके साथ भी क्या ऐसा ही हुआ था back then when you were preparing for the UPSC, and how did you overcome it?
See, exhaustion and demotivation, they come, and it's very natural, right, to be exhausted. So I had my daily goals and daily schedule, right? So if I see that I'm on track and maybe above मतलब आगे हूँ मैं अपने time table से, so what I'll do is I'll spend a half hour or 1 hour playing something. Like I used to play badminton a lot, or we used to have dinner outside our college campus, right? We used to roam about a little. So matlab you go out of your room setting, you see a lot of people, then you socialize a little. So these help you to alleviate your stress, and especially friends and family. Be connected to your friends and family, so they help you to alleviate your stress. And regarding motivation, see, for UPSC, either it's internal motivation or external motivation. So it's better that you're internally motivated, that you got to prove something to yourself only. And because this exam is so cutthroat at the moment, to be very brutally honest, that there's a hell lot of competition now in UPSC. So you cannot afford to lose motivation at any stage, because there is always someone who's going to replace you in the rank list, right? So you gotta stay motivated, and for that, either do cheap tricks, or be internally motivated. That is up to you. And whenever the motivation is low, you may watch some videos, you may watch some struggle stories, you may watch some motivational videos as well. But keep your mood elated by following some hobby that will get you going for the longer run, because you are never certain that you will clear in the first attempt. The average person who clears is in his third or fourth attempt. So you got to stay motivated for those solid years.
Okay, so I hope that a student must be benefited from your suggestion. So the next question we do have, what is the difficulty level of the optional paper? Is it mandatory to do good preparation for the optional?
See, optional carries 500 marks, and while one GS paper it carries only 250. So optional carries a significant weightage in the mains preparation. So there's no doubt in it that you have to give weightage to it. It has to be prepared very seriously, and the level of difficulty optional is a detailed exam. Like in GS, you can be a little brief, concise. In optional, there is a demand of subjectivity. There's a demand of in-depth understanding about the topics, which is required. And in GS paper, the journalist teachers check the exam, right? In optional, an expert will be put into place. If you're opting for sociology, an expert into the field of sociology will be checking your exam, and he'll be several times more learned than you are. So he'll be in a very better position to judge. So you gotta prepare optional very religiously from multiple sources and in detail.
Okay, sir. So, when we just sit in any examination hall, there is a sense of uneasiness that we, like most of the students do feel, even we have felt it. So, if I talk about the UPSC, it has two sessions of like 3 hours each. So, it takes it's take a toll on physical as well as the mental aspect of a candidate. So, sir, any guidance on how we can work on both the factors, even in the last week or the last 2 weeks, or any other paper attempting a strategy?
The first thing is your sleep cycle should be moderated, right? It should be according to the exam so that the timing of both the papers you are in your perfect concentration. Plan your 15 days in such a way that during those 6 hours you are wide awake and you are very attentive, right? Sleep cycle को change करना पहले तो अगर रात को लेट सोते हो तो सुबह जल्दी उठना. The second thing is in between the exam, if you feel drained on energy, keep some toffees or some sugar rush things with you, which will help you. Coffee based chocolates are there that you can keep, right? Apart from that, what you can do is in between breaks, after the first exam, I used to take some energy drink with a lot of caffeine in it because that helps you to stay awake. Or you can have coffee or tea as well. But yeah, lot of coffee based drinks, especially this drink called Red Bull, I think. So they help you to alleviate that stress hormone which is being released. So they help you to feel light. But yeah, apart from that, what I'll suggest is give at least one mock in which in 2 days you'll be attempting 4 exams. So that will help you that if you're overcome any other problem that you might face on that day.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for answering that. And to the students, if you have any more questions, you can share your questions with me in the Q&A box or in the chat box. I shall be taking it one by one. Okay, with this, let's take another question, sir. As a student, primarily our aim is to clear UPSC exam, but on the other side, we always dream to get high rank. So which one is more important, high rank or high percentile?
See, always aim for the top, right? Always aim, always prepare in such a manner that you will be A at one. Lucky the rank comes is not in your hand because you don't know what conspires on the day you're giving mains. You don't know what conspires on the day you're giving interview. Or maybe you're very capable enough, but you could not convey what you're being, what is into you while giving the interview. So there is a lot of subjectivity in this exam. All you got to do is be sincere at each and every step of your exam. Be sincere while preparing content. Be sincere while revising. Be sincere while adding value to your own content. Be sincere while self-analyzing your papers. Be sincere in giving all the tests regularly and attending all the classes. So these small steps will give you such a confidence that ultimately you'll clear the exam.
Okay, sir. Next up, we have a question from a test taker, and he's asking, my mentor says skip the tough questions and come back after completing the easy ones. So is it the right strategy to attempt questions?
See, it is all dependent upon your mindset, right? It is all upon how willed you are in the exam. If you have prepared your content well, if you're confident enough, then no matter if the question is difficult or if the question is easy, you'll be able to attempt that question. Or even if the question is difficult and you cannot attempt, you are in such a confidence in that chair that if I cannot answer the question, majority of people cannot answer because my preparation is thorough, right? So sit with such confidence. If you're sitting with such confidence, then no matter the question comes easy or difficult, you can do it. But on the other hand, if due to some possible reasons you
Okay, I think there's some technical error at from Sir's end. Meanwhile, we can have a look at one of the portal where you can actually post your questions after the webinar. So let me show you where exactly. You all have registered through this portal. So you can see students have already asked several questions. So similarly, even after this webinar, if you will come across any questions, don't hesitate in posting your questions here, and our subject expert will are here at Shiksha to answer all your queries. So you can see already several questions have been posted here. And moreover, I'm sharing a link in the chat box. You can fetch all the details if you want. And before that, you can have a look at the social media handle of ours, because we just keep on updating all the things related to UPSC exams. And I'm sharing a link in the chat box again so that you can fetch all the details related to UPSC Main. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So
We
let's
were
take.
talking about.
Yes, sir. So we were talking about rank or percentile, though we have already. Yes, we were talking about the tough questions. And okay, I
Yeah,
think I missed out the
exam.
previous. Yes, I missed out.
Yeah.
So
So
let's.
if while sitting on the chair, you still doubt yourself that maybe I would have skipped that question, then in that particular scenario, it's better not to lose your confidence and attempt it towards the end of the exam, right? And then also the third thing is there are some questions which prima facie nobody knows. They are new terms, new science and technology terms which are being asked. So it is something which nobody knows, or some very difficult culture questions. So what you do is attempt them at the last, because then don't waste time on that. That is basically the purpose. That waste time, utilize your time on questions you know first, and if time is left, then फिर तुक्का end में मारो उन questions को अगर time बचता है.
Okay, sir. Thank you again. And let's take another question. And it has been shared by Sakshi. When we start flipping through our notes for 5 to 10 minutes, we are very much concentrated on that. And after that, we start traveling to the different world and we just have to go through it again. So how one should go through the notes for the last week's revision?
For the last week's revision. Okay. So I think for the last week, what you got to do is sit in a setting where you are away from your mobile. Number one. Okay. Mobile, keep either, if you're sitting in one room, keep your mobile in another room. So be away from the electronic gadgets and sit in a such a setting that there are no distractions. That will help you in not straying away from your notes. And if in regular practice also, if you're not giving mains after 15 days and still you're not able to concentrate uh, on your own particular notes, then also number one, keep all these electronic gadgets away from you while you're studying, and sit either in a library if you get too much astray, because therein the environment is such that you'll be forced to study, and or sit in a peaceful environment if the environment is not peaceful back at your place. That will help.
Okay, sir. So the next up, we have a question related to interview tips. So one of the student is asking any interview tips for the shortlisted candidates and how to prepare for the stress during the interview.
See, interview is an altogether different ball game, right? So if you got to prepare for the stress levels during that interview, then I think the mocks will help, because in simulated environment, when you're being exposed to that environment again and again, so the fear of sitting in front of a panel, it will wean away eventually, and also you can self-analyze yourself in interview. What is, there are some skills that you can gain in interviews, But the main thing they look for is honesty and humility. Honesty and humility they look for. And one tip, if you can create a very light kind of humor in your interview, if you can create a light moment in which it puts a smile on everybody's faces, on the panel's faces, it cannot happen artificially, it can happen naturally only if it's in your personality. So that gives you a lot of edge. That will fetch you a lot of marks. Honesty, humility, and humor.
So, sir, the next step, we also have a question related to interview only. What sort of questions are being asked there?
In interviews, see, the questions are of uh, multitude of nature of questions. It all depends upon your DAF. What is it reflecting? So their DAF-based questions based upon your district, based upon your hobbies, based upon the state you associate with, what are the problems in that state, or some current affairs questions, what is going on in the nation that can be related to, or something related to your optional that can also be asked. So there are a multitude of questions which are being asked. You may be put in a hypothetical situation in which you are the secretary, SDM, DSP, or SSP, and how will you react to such a situation to analyze how you respond to situations. And there'll be questioning, there'll be counter questioning as well. Multitude of questions. You cannot predict the questions. What you can do is be confident in your own skill.
Okay, sir. And next up, we have a question from Tamanna, and she's asking, so what was your optional subject and how to choose an optional subject which would be easy and has a short syllabus?
See, there's nothing like an easy optional. You gotta be detailed in whatever optional you take, right? My optional was sociology, and to choose an optional, I think the first preference should be given to your graduation subject. If you're graduating in a particular subject, you have already read that subject a lot, and it makes sense to choose that particular subject. But do analyze it from UPSC standards. At least the 3 or 4 previous year questions in your particular subject. That are you able to attempt all that paper through your graduation knowledge? If not, then you can go for other optionals which are scoring well.
Okay. So, sir, we have received several questions. So I'll take up one by one. So the next question is like, what subject should a student take in UG or a PG that will help them to have a stronger application for UPSC?
UPSC is a generalist exam, right? So I think you should not decide your career or subjects in UG or PG according to UPSC standards. At the end of the day, it's just an exam. Choose the subjects that you like. If you like engineering, go for engineering, irrespective that you might have an aim of giving UPSC as well, right? So, but if you have to be so mechanical that you have to orient your UG and PG subjects according to the demands of UPSC, then definitely the art subjects like economics, history, geography, if you're doing it in graduation and you're doing it the same thing in UPSC as well, they'll help a lot. Will certainly give you a natural benefit, but don't go out of your comfort zone to choose those subjects just because they are being uh, taught in UPSC as well. Because even if you don't have a background in the subjects of UPSC, still you can clear. People like us have cleared.
Right, sir. Uh, Another question has been asked by Radhika, and she's asking, will taking journalism in UG gives any benefit in clearing UPSC?
See, the benefit for every kind of degree, every kind of profession, there is a skill set associated with, right? And that skill set not only you can use in UPSC, you can use the skill set in any kind of exam. So with journalism, if I am to find a skill set, so the skill set would be, one is your synopsis of ability. Your ability to concentrate will be very good, right? So therein you'll have an edge. Your reading skills will be fast. Your reading and the power of comprehension, that will be fast. Your power to express will be better in journalism, right? And in journalism, you'll be very confident in your communication skills will be honed a lot. So you'll have a natural advantage of it. So similarly, in each and every stream, there is a skill set which can be readily used in UPSC.
Okay, considering the time we are left with, I'm sharing a poll with all the students so that we can understand whether you like this webinar or not. So I hope you all can see the poll now. So just briefly, I'll tell you the question one. You can answer it in a yes or no. And the question two gives options from 0 to 10, where 0 is being less likely and 10 being the highest. Coming back to you, sir. Meanwhile, students are polling. Let's answer a few more questions. If you could just share more do's and don'ts for UPSC main exam.
Number one, when you start, we'll share some quantitative tips first. If you are a beginner starting for UPSC, so during the first few months, few years, what you got to do is complete your syllabus. So then you have to think quantitatively. Let's stretch yourself, like study for 8, 10, 12, 14 hours, the maximum. Compete with yourself that today I'll study for 14 hours, right? So quantitatively do things. And before, first of all, don't skip classes. If you're going to the next class, the previous class, whatever is being done in the previous class should be well revised. Not only well revised, you should have added value to it. Another quantitative tip of mine is I used to prepare notes in the landscape format, in the horizontal format. I used to write in 70% of the space, keep 30% of the space blank. And that 30% of the space was my addition. What I'll add when I'll go back and revisit that topic from all those websites, from all those added materials that I have, I'll add in that 30% in very small points. So that is what's important. And if I have to talk about some other qualitative tips, so in qualitative tips, one is the note making thing that I discussed during my webinar. That prepare notes, add value to it, use caps format. One is context, second is caps, which you should be focused upon. Other tip is always pursue some hobby, some routine, which will help to keep your stress levels low and keep your mood elevated. Because it's a long journey. If you're lucky enough, you can clear it in the first attempt. It's a long journey. So you've got to sustain yourself in this journey. And also, another tip would be when to stop. Right? I've seen people who have given exhausted all the 6 attempts and they have put in 6 precious years of their life trying to clear UPSC. I don't think this exam is that worth. Okay, at the end of the day, it's just an exam, and there are things which are beyond civil services, which are way beyond civil services, which you can do. And it's just an exam. Even if you don't clear, don't have a speck of regret in your mind, right? There, that you maybe made, at least when you look back, you can say with utmost pride that you tried with all your sincerity, right? And you pursue another field.
So let's take few more questions, sir. Vaibhav has this question, sir. I'm in class 12th. Any tips? How can I start UPSC preparation?
In class 12, what I suggest is start reading the editorials of newspapers and develop a genuine aptitude towards what's happening around, what's happening in economy, what's happening in polity, in international relations. Try to understand. If you cannot understand, there are ready-made explanation videos of the uh, newspaper editorials on YouTube for free, which are being posted daily. So that you can refer to. In class 12th, I think newspaper reading will do. But after that, after a year or two in your college, you can start thoroughly preparing for UPSC.
Okay, sir. So the next up, we have a question. What is the best time to prepare for civil services and why?
There is no best time to prepare. I mean, I'm not here to pass value judgments. है ना कि ये वाला time पे करोगे तो बढ़िया रहेगा. But हाँ, there is always an advantage if you start early and you don't have this pressure on your mind that you gotta do the syllabus in this stipulated amount of time and you gotta clear this exam early. ठीक है, तो it's always preferable if you have time that start in your graduation. From the second or third year of your graduation, start doing it so that you can explore many things. You can explore a lot of content, you can explore a lot of options. If it is for ethics, you can explore 2 to 3 teachers because it's a paper in itself. This is something you can do and it will help you a lot.
Okay. So the next up, we have question. Are there any preparation tools you use, like books, video channels, or the magazines you refer?
See, in current affairs, I used to refer monthly magazines of any reputed sites. And like I said, I didn't stick to one particular source. I used multiple sources in my preparation. And then I use my own intelligence to like which source to choose for that particular topic. For example, if it is for Topper's Note, Anudeep Durishetty sir, So he had put all, he was rank 1 in 2018 or 19, 2017, 18. So he had put all his notes on free for free on the website, on his own blog. They were gem of notes. So I used to refer to them along with other materials as well. So be wise enough, refer to multiple sources and make your own notes along with your own intelligence.
Okay, sir. Did you refer NCERT books for your preparation?
See, NCRTs are very important to lay a foundation for your UPSC preparation. And do visit them again and again. The more you visit them, the more you'll learn from them, right? So yes, do visit NCRTs, especially in topics such as geography, economy, history, and society. NCRT, doing NCRT and polity is a must, especially in geography.
Okay. And the next up, we have a question, sir. Everybody says beat the exam blues with a positive mindset, but achieving it is a task. So, any guidance on this, sir?
So see, the whole point is to maintain a positive mindset throughout. ठीक है? तो गीता में ना there is this theory निष्काम करना, right? That कर्म करो फल की इच्छा मत करो. अब now this sounds really absurd कि अगर हम कर्म कर रहे हैं और फल ही नहीं मिला तो फिर क्या फायदा कर्म करने का. But हाँ, the real notion behind it is कि कर्म ऐसा करो कि because when you attach too much value to the फल ना कि मेरा यूपीएससी क्लियर हो जाए मैं आईएएस बन जाऊं तो फिर ना एडेड टेंशंस आती है माइंड में. देयर आर प्रेशर्स कि अगर नहीं हुआ तो. So at the present time, just focus upon your karma. Just prepare sincerely. What you gotta do is micro prepare. एक सेट गोल रखो एक दिन का और उसको सिंसियरली करो एंड बी कंटेंट दैट हाँ मैं अपना आज का जो भी मेरा जो मैंने करना था द टास्क आई हैड एट हैंड आई डिड इट विद utmost sincerity and ultimately these small steps will eventually lead me to my goal rather than focusing upon कि clear होगा कि नहीं. Dwell into the present, complete your daily tasks, do it sincerely, do it with all your heart. That will lead you to that path.
Okay, sir. We have more questions. How can we maintain environment for long time study routine? It has been asked by Arun.
See, maintaining environment as I've earlier discussed. Number one, eliminate all the electronic gadgets in your vicinity till the time you're studying because there's a very bad habit of scrolling alongside you're doing, right? Or if there is a message, your concentration will shift to your phones. So one is keep your phones at a very distant place while you're preparing. Then is setting. If there is peace at your place, if there's no disturbance, then you can sit at your place or go to a library. A library setting is more appropriate. So this is how you.
Okay, sir. Considering the time, anything you wish would had known before appearing for the UPSC? Maybe you would like the same to share with the other students.
See, the only thing I'd like to share is in this exam you grow as a person. Like every day you practice, you read new things, you revise new things, you grow as a person. And even if you are failing at some attempts, then mind you that once you clear the exam, you'll that struggle phase that will wean away. It will be the journey of preparation. That struggle will be transformed into a journey, right? So keeping in mind that, I think you should always have a positive approach and keep trying at the exam with all your sincerity. That is what my message is.
Okay, so I'll quickly take up one more question. What should be the exam day strategy?
Exam day strategy. See, on the exam day, number one, you have to make sure that you sleep well the previous day. Now, your sleep cycle should be very much organized beforehand. Like, try to sleep into that cycle from today only because 15 days are left. And if you have, there are people who cannot sleep a day before the exam because of exam jitters. ठीक है, so then you can take some natural stimulant that will induce sleep. Some medication or some stimulant, natural stimulants are available which will induce sleep so that you have a good sound sleep of 7 to 8 hours before the exam. And don't study a lot before the exam. Like if you have very condensed notes, then you can go through it. What I personally used to do is I had fodder material that on every topic I had some fodder So I had prepared short notes of that fodder material, some data reports, some good lines, some quotations on each and every topic. I just used to not revise the whole syllabus. I used to revise the fodder material only. So that I did before the exams.
Okay, sir. So today we understood about the time management, smart study plan, how to attempt questions in each section of the main exam, do's and don'ts from Dilpreet sir, micro notes preparation, quantitative and qualitative preparation, and exam day strategy. Thank you so much, Dilpreet sir, for guiding us and clearing all our doubts.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy
Thank
learning.
Thank you to all of you for being the part of this session, and all the best for the UPSC main. With this, I am Shilpa signing off. Till then, take care and keep checking our portal for the upcoming webinar. Take care.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel.